Welcome to Real Estate U with Letty Ann.
Letty Ann, we started the show talking a little bit about debt, my favorite four-letter word. And so maybe we'll talk about that for just a moment. Debt is a really powerful tool for real estate investors. I always say that income property is the most historically proven asset class in the entire world. It's also the most tax-favored asset class in the United States, and taxes are the single largest expense any of us have, okay? So if we want to cut our expenses, we shouldn't spend a lot of time shopping around for a better deal on a product we want to buy. We should spend our time learning how to save on taxes, because taxes are the biggest expense in any of our lives. Okay,
how can we cut them?
We can use the most tax-favored asset class in America, income property, and we can buy income properties because you're going to get the most bang for your buck tax-wise on that in several ways. And I can talk about that too, time permitting. But it's also the most debt-favored asset class, okay? So the most historically proven asset class, the most tax-favored asset class, the most debt-favored asset class. Now, why do we care about that? The reason we care about it is because, first of all, most real estate investors are familiar with the concept of leverage. And the idea of leverage basically, was probably summed up well by the ancient mathematician and philosopher Archimedes, who said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum to place it on, and I can move the entire world." And he's right, because it's like a teeter-totter. That's the idea of leverage, right? We can do bigger things than we're able to do without leverage. Mm-hmm. And so with income property, for example, you can buy 5 times the amount of property. It's a beautiful thing. If you want to buy a stock, bond, or mutual fund, and you want to buy $100,000 worth of that asset, how much do you need? You need $100,000. If you want to buy $100,000 worth of income-producing real estate, you only need $20,000, okay? And so that leverage is a great thing because it expands our return. So if that property appreciates, we get a bump. We get an expansion on that appreciation. That's the concept of leverage, and it has made many, many people very, very rich. But there's something more that most people aren't familiar with and they don't see. And it's a mouthful, Letty Ann. You ready for this one?
I'm ready.
I'm going to first tell you the acronym because it's shorter and easier to remember. Okay. It's IIDD.
I'm writing this down. IIDD. IIDD.
And what it stands for is my trademark term, inflation-induced debt destruction.
I like it. It's awesome.
Can you say it 10 times fast?
Inflation-induced debt reduction. Inflation-reduced debt reduction.
Destruction.
Oh, no, see? Destruction.
Yeah. Well, it is reduction, though. That's true, too. So basically, this is the idea that when you buy a property and you finance it, you get this beautiful 3-decade-long fixed-rate mortgage. That's a beautiful thing right there without anything else. The interest rates on the mortgage are artificially low, and they are arguably negative interest rates, meaning they're below the rate of inflation. Now, they're not below the official rate of inflation, but we all know that the government understates the rate of inflation to make us all feel better, and not only just to make us feel better, but to reduce the amount the government has to pay out in terms of cost of living increases every year to government employees, which are like 20% of the economy. So it's a pretty big deal, okay? So the government has an incentive to understate the rate of inflation. But if the inflation rate is 2%, and one of our clients just got a mortgage on a property he purchased through our network that he found at jasonhartman.com, and he got a mortgage for 3.5%. Now, guess what? He was on my show just last week talking about this, and he said he was so excited because if the inflation rate is 2% and the tax deduction on the interest on that mortgage is half of, if his tax bracket's around 50% with state and federal, it's a little less than that, but it's just rounding off, okay? Then his tax deduction is going to be 1.75%. In other words, half of 3.5, right? That's the math I'm doing. Okay. And so if you add 2% inflation to 1.75% tax deduction, you get 3.75. But his interest rate, Letty Ann, is only 3.5. So literally, this is a rental property. But if he never rents it out, if he just keeps it vacant for 30 years, and the inflation rate stays where it is, which it's not likely to do, it's likely to increase dramatically, okay? He will literally get paid 0.25% to borrow that money.
That's crazy.
You can't beat this in anything. I dare you to find a better investment than income property.
I'm going to go buy something tonight. I'm going to buy my fourth rental property tonight.
And don't buy it with cash. Finance it.
Finance
it.
Okay.
Finance it and get a super cheap 30-year fixed rate loan.
Dude, I'm doing
it. Guess what happens if you take advantage of what I call the ultimate investing equation. Okay, and the ultimate investing equation, part of it, is basically that you use 80% of somebody else's money to go acquire an asset, okay, and hopefully you buy that asset at or near the cost of actual construction, and then you finance it with their money at an artificially low interest rate.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Something weird happened, but I don't know what.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, I'm trying to follow along because I want this equation.
It's better now. The noise went away.
Okay.
So you finance it with the artificially low interest rate, and then you say, look, I guess the reason Jason likes debt is because he's not responsible for paying the debt. His tenants are. Okay. See, we outsource the debt obligation to the tenant in the property. They pay the debt. We don't pay our debts. With real estate investing, someone else pays our debts for us.
So why do we need the cash?
Beautiful thing, right? So, and then they'll usually give us a tip every month too, a little extra called positive cash flow. So maybe we buy a typical property that you'll find through my network is something that might have positive cash flow, say somewhere around $200 a month. Okay. And so you buy this property, you only put 1/5 of the money down. You let the bank put most of the money down. You tell the tenants to pay the debt for you, and then give you a little extra every month, maybe $200 or so. And then you let the property appreciate. You let the value of the debt depreciate as inflation allows you to pay that debt back in cheaper dollars every year. Okay, so you're paying the debt back in cheaper dollars, and the lender is getting less, and that payment in future years feels like nothing because inflation has cheapened the value of the money. Okay, and you get tax benefits, leverage, and you get it's just a beautiful.
May I ask you this? Why 30 years and not 15? And I'm told we have about 4 minutes left. And if you're
excellent, great question. So why 30 years instead of 15? Well, why would I want to pay a mortgage off sooner that is so cheap where I'm getting paid to borrow the money?
He makes it sound so easy.
I don't want to pay the mortgage off quickly, okay? I want to pay the mortgage off as slow as possible.
Let it ride.
If I could get a 100-year mortgage, I would sign up for that in a heartbeat, okay? Now, the only reason, though, to take your question a little more seriously, to possibly consider a shorter mortgage like that is because usually you do get a lower interest rate from the lender. But the interest rate isn't that much lower, Letty. Okay. And you want that extra 15 years of inflation-induced debt destruction. Look, income property isn't a bad deal if you pay cash for it, but it's not nearly as good a deal as it is if you leverage it. Okay. So you want to make debt your friend. You want to make debt your ally, and you want to make the lender your partner in the deal. And the beauty is you don't have to give the lender, you don't have to cut them in on the appreciation or the tax benefits or anything else. You just let the tenant pay them off for you.
I'm giggling because I'm blown away, and I'm already anticipating the conversation I'm going to have with my husband tonight at the dinner table. And we're going to go buy something. He's going to go, we don't have enough cash. I'm going to go, we don't need it.
Yeah.
Half a percent.
You only need 20%, okay?
Yeah.
And you can even buy an investment property with 15% down. So it's really incredible. It's just such a great asset class. See, the thing that makes it different than everything else is it's a multi-dimensional asset class. Most investments are one or maybe two dimensions. For example, if you buy a dividend-paying stock, it's buy low, sell high, get some dividends in between. Two dimensions. If you buy precious metals, it's one-dimensional. Buy low, sell high. That's the whole game, nothing else. If you buy a non-dividend-paying stock, buy low, sell high, that's it, right? But income property is multi-dimensional. You get return in so many different ways, and that's the beauty of it.
I love it. Jason, I'm going to probably watch this show about 4 more times just today because I want to be sure I absorb. This is just, I thank you so much. It's a wealth of
my pleasure. Yeah.
So do you have a second to tell others about your school and and I know where they can go to jasonhartman.com. We want to be sure we spell that correctly. Hartman, jasonhartman.com. There you can find information about your podcast, your educational series, correct? Your school.
Yeah. I don't have a school per se, but I do have. We host live conferences, and we have some educational products. You don't really need those always. You can just listen to my free podcast and get most of what you need from there. And then if you fill out any web form at jasonhartman.com, one of our investment counselors can contact you and help you for free. In designing a real estate portfolio. They can do for you what's called a portfolio makeover, where they look at all the assets you have now, and then they try to determine the highest and best use for those assets so that you can make your money work for you.
Do you know what my favorite new word is?
Inflation-induced debt destruction?
Well, if I can't say that fast, I'll just say debt. I'm going to embrace debt. I mean, it's all how you look at things. You have a beautiful perspective on how to take the negative and turn to positive, and don't put a blanket statement over everything with regard to real estate. I love the pockets, and what real estate are you talking about if you're saying real estate is going a certain direction?
Is it cyclical market, hybrid market, or linear market? Good question. And I do want to say before I go, I think most people get it, but just in case, not all debt is good. There is definitely bad debt. Okay. Yep. You don't want consumer debt. You don't want credit card debt. You don't want student loan debt. Okay. None of that debt is good debt. Income property debt is special because it's tax deductible. It's inflation-induced debt destruction, and the debt is outsourced to the tenant. Okay, if we were paying our own debts and the interest rate was high, I would feel very differently about debt. I only like this kind of debt because it is a very unique type of debt that makes us rich.
And everybody wins.
Yeah,
everybody gets what they want or what they need. So
right. Absolutely. It's a great thing. So thanks, and happy investing to you and all of your listeners.
I appreciate it so much. I'll be following you, Jason, jasonhartman.com. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you again. Hope we meet in person. If not, we'll be on a Zoom call where it's safer.
No germs. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Happy investing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.